When you walk into a room and there just has been an argument and you feel the energy in the room, you can perceive something while you are not using your human five senses. The more conscious we get, the more we perceive that our five senses cannot pick up on. And for me, that is multidimensional. A lot of the systems we live in are so fear-based, and that's what we grow up with, what we're used to. And you also have all the programming from your parents, from your family, from your environment. So we have so many programs that keep us stuck in we're victims, oh, this is happening to me. Every experience becomes a mirror to reflect back to you what you can still work on. And every mirror I perceive as a gift. I get to decide, only me. So not other people, the governments, the teacher in school. I get to decide for myself, and the only one who has to give permission for this, for everything in my life, is me. Wow, I'm fucking powerful.
Welcome back to the Spirit Unfolding podcast. This week I'm sitting down with someone I love talking to, and that's been a beautiful beacon of light and consciousness and reflection since the start of our friendship a few years ago. In this episode, expect to learn how we can awaken more of our senses, why stepping into the light is so important for your personal growth, and why we don't necessarily need to understand everything as long as we can feel it. I'm so excited to introduce to you Anna van Leeuwen. Anna, welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Excited to have you here, and we were always diving deep in our conversations, and I'm really glad to have you on the podcast, and just dive deeper into your experience and what you know and what you can bring to people, because I know you're helping a lot of people, and I also know that I've experienced you have certain ways of doing things and wording things that are quite practical, and at the same time you are quite connected to, let's say, the unseen world and things that most of us maybe find hard to grasp. So I'd love to talk about that in this podcast, and just glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I love our conversations as always, and now we get to do it in front of an audience, so let's see.
I want to start with there's a lot of talk in, let's say, the spiritual community about this global awakening of consciousness. And this is obviously a process that's been going on for a long time. It's been prophesized in a lot of ancient cultures and tribes, and that there's going to be a time where the consciousness and the awakening is really happening. And
it's already happening.
Yeah, and there's the dawning of a new time. And I think a lot of us can feel this. How would you describe this awakening of consciousness, and how do you believe we can see how can we see that it's happening? Where do we see it happening?
Well, I think we're in the midst of it. So it's not something that will happen. It's happening right now. And I think you can see it all around you, because it's simple as becoming more conscious of yourself, of the patterns that you keep running into, of unhealthy behavior that you have. So becoming conscious of it and it showing up in your awareness, I think that's what awakening is. And a lot of people are now, you hear like there are a lot of burnouts for the past few years, and people are struggling with their mental health because things are coming in. I think it's an opportunity, the dis-ease, to become more aware of yourself and of the burdens and the beliefs and the programming. And we get to become aware of it and conscious so we can make a change.
Yeah, because it's not happening randomly. You don't get sick just randomly. It's because of a reason. There's something that you're doing that's not aligned with what you're supposed to do, for example. And this ease is coming into your awareness to show you, to make you aware of something that needs to happen.
Yeah, maybe make you aware of yourself. I, for example, had 2 burnouts. The first one was like 8 years ago, I guess. And I became so aware, so aware of things that I never thought about, because I thought, okay, what is happening? Why is this happening? What is going on in my life? So it really opened up a part of myself to see from another perspective. Yeah. So that, yeah, consciousness is going up or becoming greater.
Which means that all the stuff that we weren't aware of before, we are now becoming aware of.
Exactly.
So all the darkness, all the shadows, all the unseen parts are coming up.
Yeah. It's coming into the light.
And with in my experience, that also means that it's not necessarily easy, because there's a reason these things are in the shadows. They're not comfortable. There may be parts of us that we haven't accepted. There may be parts of the outside world that are confronting or that we don't want to see, which are, in a sense, possibly also a reflection of our inner worlds. I know you're big on focusing on yourself. Can we dive into that? What does that mean?
What does that mean? I think like all the change in the world comes from within. So it starts within yourself. And I've heard people say, and I found this really interesting, 80% of change is inner transformation. Like dissolving beliefs, dissolving old pains, and 20% of change is action. So so 80% is inside of us. Holy crap. So if I want to change things in my life, and I'm doing it always, but also now, I know I have inner work to do. And it's so funny because all the people around me say, you can do this, you can do that. And people give me so many solutions. And I know the solution is inside of me. And I think this is the new world where we're going to. It needs a change in our perspective. We need to switch our perspective and don't change things on the outside, but make a change on the inside. And as within, so without. So what our energy is reflecting everything in our environment. Can you follow me? Like,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you look at that.
Yeah, I've definitely, I mean, just before we were joking with my girlfriend here as well, like, there is this, once you apply the lens of I am the creator of my experience, that means also that, yes, you're creating all the good experiences, but you've also created all the experiences that you're in that you're maybe not happy about. Yeah. You have actually yourself created the disease, but it's probably on an unconscious level.
Yeah.
And that can be very confronting, but it's also very empowering, because once you know I've created it, you also know you can create something else, and you can actually step out of it, and you don't have to give your power or your hope away to, exactly, let's say, a medical system or someone else or outside of you or an institution or whatever. No, actually, you can do it yourself, because you yourself have created it, because the physicality is an expression of the energy. Mm-hmm. And the energy comes out of your emotion and out of your mental, the mental part of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like we're not purposely creating disease, and a lot of it is unconscious, like you said. But it also has to do, I think, with the programming. Like we came into this physical world here on this planet, and there's so many programs here that keep you stuck in fear. Like a lot of the systems we live in are so fear-based, and that's what we grow up with, what we're used to. And you also have all the programming from your parents, from your family, from your environment. So we have so many programs that keep us stuck in, we're victims, this is happening to me. And I think it really invites us, or let me invite you, to make a shift in perspective and say, okay, this is happening for me. It gives me an opportunity to see what part of myself can come into the light and can be seen. And when you accept that everything is an opportunity, every experience you have, no matter how bad, Like my 2 burnouts were not easy at all. And the years past that. But every experience becomes a mirror to reflect back to you what you can still work on. And every mirror I perceive as a gift. So, like, funny story, a few months ago I was horseback riding because I had the dream my whole life to one time in my life learn horseback riding. So I thought, okay, let's do it. And it was so scary and I never expected that. So I was in a group lesson and I was sitting on the horse, and I think the first 3 lessons in the group I cried. Because things were not going my way. I had to be in my more masculine role and take the reins. But I wanted to be in the feminine flow and just let the horse decide. But that's not working, you know. So I was just struggling with myself. And I thought, oh, this is so funny. Because the horse is doing exactly the opposite of what I want. But I'm not taking control of it as well. So it felt like my masculine and feminine energy were not in balance. And the situation with the horse was showing that to me.
Yeah, and
For me, it was
horses
a
are
mirror.
very, very sensitive as well, right? So I know people
Definitely.
that are doing therapy with horses.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But every situation, like even though I was crying on the horse, I also could see at the same time, oh my God, this is so funny. This is exactly what I'm experiencing on the inside, but the horse is my mirror. Thank you for this gift. Thank you. Now I need to know what I can work on. Yeah, because I was struggling with being in the feminine or doing in the masculine.
And that's such a beautiful, it's almost like you're in the situation from 2 levels of consciousness at the same time, right?
Yeah.
You're in it, you're feeling all of it, and at the same time you're zoomed out.
Yeah.
And you're kind of laughing at yourself,
Yeah.
and you're seeing yourself from a distance, from another perspective.
Yeah.
And I experienced this a lot as well, but I can also imagine, and I know this from myself from the past, like there's so many situations where you don't have that second perspective, where you're just in it and feels like you're powerless or you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
How would you, for people that are in those kind of moments often, what would you tell them to do, or what would be advice that you have to gain a higher perspective?
I think, it's a beautiful question. I think that I would give advice to people to look at every situation as something that you will learn something from, and to see every situation as a mirror of something that's living inside of yourself. And it would be great if you can also laugh about it. And I couldn't for years. Now I can. So that's also just the process. And enjoy the process. We all want to be somewhere in our development and we want to be there, but then it's never enough. And what if we can just be here now and enjoy this and enjoy being in the process that we're in, instead of always looking at the future self?
Yeah.
Makes us so more happier if we can just be here now and enjoy this and enjoy the shit show sometimes, like...
Yeah, because it's also about, and maybe this, I don't know, maybe this is not connecting to for someone, but it doesn't matter. But like, you can even like, at some point I noticed, like when I was younger, I had a lot of trouble with connecting with my emotions, and this came from like childhood trauma and me just kind of don't wanting to feel the pain, and in that sense disconnecting from all the feelings. And then later, when I got into touch with the emotions and feelings again, it became easier. And then at some point it was like, there's actually a couple of levels to this, in a sense of, just as with this perspective, I can be really angry, but I can actually be happy that I'm angry, because finally now I feel like I'm releasing something, I'm letting it out. Whereas before I would maybe feel very heavy, but I wouldn't know why, and it would kind of just linger and hold on, and I would want to let it go, but I wouldn't know how. And then all of a sudden this anger turns up, and I can actually just, in that sense, with that emotion, release it. Beautiful. And be really happy about that.
Yeah.
And I can even be sad and be happy about the sadness, because it makes me feel something in my heart, which is a very funny to say, But to come from someone that, when I was 15, I think I said to my parents, I don't think I have emotions.
Oh.
I just didn't feel anything.
Oh, yeah.
So it's...
How did you learn to develop how did you start to feel your emotions or to let them be there?
I think a lot of it was because that was sort of a low point, but in the years after, it definitely got better. Because obviously, I mean, I've been angry, I've been in love in the years after that, all these things, but not to the depth that I am now. So it was there, but it really depended on the situation and in what kind of energy I was in and what I was doing in my life. I do know that around my, I would say 29, 30, like 5 years ago, it really got more conscious. So there was a moment where I realized like, oh, I'm actually still holding on to so much tension in my body. Why am I so tense in my body? Why am I literally walking on my toes? Why do I always have my neck and my shoulders hurting and being cramped up? Like, that's not normal.
So you became more aware of yourself.
Both through reflections of other people and through my own sensations.
Beautiful.
And then just started to get to work with like, okay, how do I do this? I can keep going back to a physiotherapist, but that's not actually solving the root cause.
Mm-hmm.
So can I go, what is it then? Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's not something physical. Then went to a therapist and then, did plant medicine and all these different things and all these different modalities all taught me something. And taught me to actually be in the body and be okay, and it's okay to feel. And then at some point I just made the decision to not run away from feelings anymore. Mm. So whenever I felt like, okay, I felt like maybe sadness coming up, and before I would be like, oh no, I'm gonna watch a movie or I'm gonna do sports or I'm gonna like sort of get distracted in a sense, run away from it. Mm. And now it's like, I'm just gonna sit and feel it.
Beautiful.
I just made the decision to no longer run away. And that was really the thing that really made the switch in getting the progression of getting back in touch with my feelings and my body and my consciousness in a lot quicker sense than before.
I have to think of that's also like stepping out of the program. We are programmed to suppress our emotions and feelings. From a young age, this is how we are programmed. If you decide to step out of that and start allowing yourself and giving yourself permission to feel, you're shifting, you're shifting out of the program into a new consciousness era, I would say.
Yeah. It's even in the simple things like asking permission to go to the toilet when you're in school, when you're small, for example.
Yeah.
And I know not now because I'm explaining something, and you're learning to actively suppress or not listen to the signals of your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what I think is beautiful? Also, when you talk about feelings, emotions, I have the feeling that I always see this as like a skill. Like this is one point of the skill and this is the other one. And you have like something that goes like this. Like here are the negative emotions. And here are the positive emotions. The more you can feel the negative, the more you can feel the positive.
It's like you're opening the spectrum of how much you can feel, which means you'll feel both sides.
Both ways, yes, exactly. And maybe it's a weird reference, but I love this. Have you seen the film Barbie?
Nope.
I've seen it, and I love that at some point she's like a Barbie doll. But at one point in the movie, she gets to be human. And for the first time, she is feeling something. And you just see like the sensation, the wind on her skin and the tears in her eyes. And it's such a beautiful moment because how great is it that we're able to feel? Wow. And to feel the full spectrum. So also when you're really sad, just enjoy the fact that you are able to feel, I think it's one of the beautiful things on this planet. We are able to feel everything. And when we live in a world in a few years from now where there's only love, we don't have that big range of emotions. So let's enjoy it while we can.
Yeah. You say a few years from now. What do you expect to happen in the next couple of years?
I have the feeling that 2025 is the big transformation year. Like this year feels to me very important. After this year, there's no way back. There's only up and out. And
what does that mean? No way back. In what sense?
I don't know. It feels like a turning point. This year is a turning point for humankind. I cannot explain it. This is something I feel on the inside, and
like we have to choose what way we go. We choose whether we choose love or we choose judgment.
Yeah, or do we choose to become more aware and work with that, or not? I don't know. Like, I don't have the answers, but it feels like me. I also said to my mom, because we talk a lot about this, Mom, this feels like an important year, and a lot is going to happen this year. A lot of the less nice parts will come into the light, because the light is growing. We have so much influx of light. I can just feel it. It's like an inner knowing, I would say. We have so much light coming into this world now. Everything will get lit up. All the dark places, all the beautiful places, like everything lights up to be seen.
Does it mean that our perception and our senses are opening up more? Is that what you mean as well, in a sense of like, because things get lit up more? Is that because something in the external changes, or because it's something that actually it was always there, but it's our internal systems that are changing?
Yeah, I think it's both. As within, so without. When the light comes in, let's say from our brothers and sisters in other dimensions, I don't know. When the light comes in, it does something, like it raises the consciousness on Earth. And I feel like this year is the big turning point. That the light becomes so present. A lot of people are going to get confronted with themselves, but it raises consciousness, and that's part of it.
It's also like this confrontation is a part that you can't run away from, in a sense, right? You have to go through. You can't go around. You can't heal without feeling the pain.
Yeah, and I think that's what's happening this year. We can't run away from it any longer. This is it. If you've been running away from it for years, this year you can't. That's how it feels like. Yeah, so I think we will see a lot of heaviness, but we have to see the other perspective. So many things are changing for the better. And it seems maybe like a shit show, but things are coming to light. How beautiful was that? And
a lot of stuff has always been happening. Like, for example, all the corruption that we're now seeing in the US coming to the surface, for example.
Yeah.
Most of us never knew, but it's been there for decades.
Exactly.
And it's been there like that everywhere, and there's so many other things that are happening, I mean, one of the heaviest things I find to bring awareness to is child trafficking and all the stuff that's being done to the children. And I think it's estimated that between 3 and 4 million kids a year disappear. So it's like
not more.
Millions.
Yeah, crazy.
Tens of thousands a day.
When will that come into the light?
It's like, and that's been happening for decades, and we're not really aware of it because other stuff is on our screens and is in our awareness.
The fear-based programming that keeps us stuck.
Yeah.
In low consciousness. That's what it is. And we get to rise out of it.
Exactly. And it's so also beautiful. Interesting. I just brought back to this moment where I remember a couple of years ago we talked about when we were kind of still in the COVID time and all this, like we were becoming aware of much more heaviness of the world, and we were kind of waiting for it to end in a sense. And I remember, like, I talked to some people that were of quite a high consciousness, and they said, like, a few more years and then stuff will change. And I told that to you, and you were like, still for so long.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You were like, I can't wait for that long. But what I've noticed is I'm not waiting for it. I used to be, it felt like heavy, and it felt like it was being done to us in a sense.
Yeah.
And now it feels like, just as you're saying, it's a mirror, it's an invitation. And it's actually, okay, yes, we still have, relatively to other places in the world, we have it very good. Like, I mean, we're not in a war zone.
Yeah.
We're not in famine. There's, obviously we're in the top few percent of
Having easy lives.
having an easy life in the
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
probably. And still, there's a lot more heaviness coming to the surface, but it doesn't feel heavy to me in a sense.
Yeah. How does that come, you think? It doesn't feel as heavy as a few years ago.
I see it more as you said shit show, but as a show. It feels, and it's not to disconnect from it, but I used to give value to politics, for example, but I just see it as, look, it's all just a show. It's theater, and it's not something that, I want to give my attention to, my life force to.
Yeah.
I want to create my own life, and I don't want to vote on a certain something or someone to then try to believe or hope that they will do something for me in my life, while I can also just do it myself.
Yeah. And I think that's what sovereignty is. Like, I heard the words, I don't know how that's for you, but I heard the word sovereignty for many times the last few years. And I looked it up, the definition, and I never really could grasp it. Like, what is sovereignty? I don't feel it, I can read the words, but I don't really get it. And I think also part of consciousness, of growth of consciousness, is first you're releasing the old programs, all the dense energy, and then we get to open up for new parts of ourselves. And a few weeks ago, I received the insight of what sovereignty is. And I could feel sovereignty. So maybe when I explain it, you can feel it a little bit with me. Yeah. So it felt to me like, wow, I'm a sovereign being. That means that I get to decide. Only me. So not other people, the governments, the teacher in school. I get to decide for myself. And the only one who has to give permission for this, for everything in my life, is me. Wow. I'm fucking powerful. I get to decide things for myself. I don't need anyone else. I can create and give myself permission to create whatever I want. Holy fuck, I'm a creator. I create my own reality. I create everything in it. Yeah, oh my God. And I could literally feel it in my body. And I thought, okay, from now on, my new mantra is, I give myself permission for, and you can feel it in with everything.
I love that. And it's so interesting to me that it's such a holy shit realization. Well, this is actually our birthright. This is something that we should all been taught when being young.
Yeah. But this is also awakening to this part of yourself. And that's beautiful. I could not just realize it with your rational mind, but I could feel it. Wow, but this is beautiful. We are awakening to ourselves. It's already there, but it's now in my consciousness, and now I can feel it. Yeah. Even though we always have been sovereign beings.
Yeah, we just have been told or even gave ourselves the illusion that we're not.
Yeah, and that's the programming of this world.
Yeah. But it's also, in a sense, I feel like I used to be angry at that, but I feel like it's actually, just like you said, like it's actually it's happening for me.
Yeah. And not to you.
Because you need the pressure and you need the polarity to give you a push into finding that part in yourself and that piece in yourself. If you're always comfortable, there's no reason to grow.
Exactly.
Because it's good as it is. And if you feel like, oh, actually I'm not fully comfortable, or there's this ease, or there's like certain things happening where like I don't want to be actually beholden to that institution, or I don't like that this is happening in the world, or this is affecting my life. Well, maybe you can actually get to a place where it's no longer affecting you, but you have to do the inner work.
But then you have awakened already, I would say, and there's still a lot of people who are not awake to what's happening and that were in the programming. But I feel this year, everyone gets pushed out of their comfort zone within themselves. So let's get to work and make this world a beautiful place, because that's where we're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel that what we will see happening then? How does that look like when people get unmasked, get confronted with all the stuff that they've been pushing away unconsciously?
Yeah, I think that will not be pretty. People need help, I think, to, I always thankfully had help from beautiful conscious people to help me through my own process. And I get to be able to do that for other people now as well with my healing practice. And it goes so much faster when you have help from someone that already went through this. And I think a lot of people in the coming maybe 10 years, I have no idea how fast this will go, because it's in our own hands. I have the feeling my healing practice will be slammed with people. And I have this feeling for a few months already, and I'm waiting for the moment that it's like, now I get so many emails and everything I organize is full. That moment is coming closer and closer, and I don't know when it will happen, but people will need help. Yeah. But I think we also get to work through it quite fast. The people who wake up now and go into their process of consciousness, I think within a few years, everything is changed.
Yeah.
But this is just a feeling. Like, I have no idea, but...
I have a feeling that maybe we're actually influencing each other as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But I also think because the influx of light is so big on the planet, like from the cosmos, let's say, we get to receive so much light, like literally, that it feels like, to me, it acts as a catalyst. Like everything is going way faster. You also feel like maybe time's going so fast, right? It's going by
100%.
so fast, yeah. So everything is really going by faster because of the light. So we only have the here and the now, and time doesn't exist anymore in our perspective.
That's what I mean. If you look at, for example, Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and there's so many others that have written about this and talked about this, is that actually really there's only the now, and the past and the future are only in our head. They're only in our thoughts, but we cannot ever actually experience the past. We can never actually experience the future. It's only that the past is in our awareness, in our memories, and it is, yes, because of that, is influencing our experience of the now, and we are anticipating on the future and maybe making different decisions in the now because of what we think that what will happen in the future.
But it's always now.
And the things, the things that we anticipate might happen in the future might actually happen, but when they're happening in the now.
Yeah.
So there's actually only the now.
Yeah.
Which means that to get there is really just to bring your awareness back to the body and to the here, and not disappear into the head. Yes. And for me, that's been it's been a real journey, and I'm still in the middle of it, but like my head would just go round and round in circles, and I have a really analytical mind. So it's like, it's really hard to, it will never shut up really.
Yeah.
Unless I bring conscious awareness to what I'm feeling in the body, what my senses are telling me in a moment, and then the mind quiets.
I think that's a big, that's the biggest challenge maybe. And when you also think of that you are the creator of everything, and your thoughts are really important in that process, we have a big responsibility to be aware of our thoughts and to direct them and stop them when we don't like what we are thinking, Yeah. How do you see that?
I definitely agree. Like, I've really loved diving into the work of Joe Dispenza and talking about this manifestation. And obviously he does a really good job at also showing in a scientific way and measuring it, where it's really, you can objectively see how things are happening in the brain, and there's actually that your energetic, your magnetic field that your body's generating is actually changing when you're putting your attention on certain thoughts, when you're trying to bring up certain feelings in the body, your body energetic field actually changes. He's also working with, I believe it's a Russian technology that is able to sense the if your chakras are actually in the center of your body where they're supposed to be, or whether the energy center is actually off center, or whether some chakras are out of balance compared to other ones. And this is, I believe it's not necessarily camera, but it's something. It does make it visual. I think it's like a certain amount of sensors, and it makes it visual in an image. And he's been able to show like that people in his intensive trainings that last a couple of days, that when people get to practice with this a lot, and they've done it a couple of times, that they test their energetic field and their chakras. Then they do this 1 hour intensive meditation. And whereas before you would see that the chakras are all out of balance and people feel unstable and they're in their head a lot, and they feel like certain discomforts in their body, and they do this, I think it's like chakra balancing meditation. And then after that, this objective measuring device shows them that actually they're all perfectly aligned.
After 1 hour.
Yeah.
Crazy,
or even less, from 40 minutes or something.
Yeah, awesome.
And if you practice it more, you can apparently do it quicker. Like with everything, you'll get better at it. And that's really interesting to me. Like he's actually showing it in an objective scientific way, because I believe he had the idea of, look, there's been a lot of people talking about this. We have seen things like there's been group meditations done by yogis where they actually saw like, okay, the crime rate is going down and all this kind of stuff when there was group meditation happening. Or people talk about, okay, there is the power of manifestation, and there is, all these things. A lot of, obviously all of YouTube is filled with people that say, generate more wealth and money for yourself by visualizing things. But he was like, okay, that's great, but can we actually make it tangible? Can I show it? Can I get hard proof of it?
Yeah.
And reading that book really did help me get also the right practical techniques to practice more of that and do it. And yeah, I've definitely felt more and more that I'm finding myself in situations that I visualized a while ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's I don't feel like that's a coincidence anymore. It's happened often enough now that I know that I'm actually the creator of that.
Yeah.
And what he's very big on is you have to visualize the end result, and most of all, feel it as if it's already happened. Yeah. Feel the emotion of the experience coupled with the gratitude that it's already happened.
But how do you do that? Because for me, that's the most difficult part, is to feel it as it has already happened.
It's really it's a practice, but it's about, I'm a very visual person. So for me, it does help to actually, if I really focus on it, I can actually close my eyes and see it, visualize it.
But how can you feel it? What you see? Like,
I just go into it with all my awareness. And it's like, for example, one of his guided meditations was, okay, you have go into that moment, into that future that you want for yourself. And I saw myself coming home in our future home. I don't have kids yet, but there were 2 kids running towards me. And I feel the joy and the love. And I can't really explain it, but you kind of feel that life, even though I'm not actively living it yet.
Yeah.
But you can trick your brain. If you really feel it with emotion, you kind of trick your brain into believing that it's happening, or that it actually has already happened. And by doing that, you're creating a unique frequency in your energy field, because everything is energy. It feels maybe materialistic, it feels physical, but it's just moving energy with a lot of nothingness in between. And we can talk about that. Nothingness is probably consciousness, but everything is actually in a sea of consciousness. But by expressing that unique energy field, the universe or the energy field that you're in can only respond by adjusting to the frequency that you're emanating.
Yeah.
So that experience has to come to you by a law of the universe. It's just a natural law that you will attract what you believe fully believe in and that you have in yourself.
Yeah, this is creating, being the creator. And that's also what a lot of people are doing, is thinking about the past and what happened there and feel the emotions and feelings of the past.
Yeah.
But then when you relive them, you send that energy out into the world and you don't move forward. So that's also when we become aware of our thoughts and we are able to like control them. Maybe control sounds negative, but for me it feels like control them. And when we decide to think other thoughts and to feel other feelings like you just explained, that's how we create a different reality than the past we had.
Yeah. I had a couple of years ago, I had for the first time in my whole career, I had a couple of months almost no freelance work. And it was really confronting. And I was like, I believe I'm pretty good at my job. I always have had enough gigs, like what's going on? Called colleagues, everyone was in the same situation. So that gave me a little bit of relief of like, oh, it's not me, but the situation still didn't change. I was like, I'm eating into my buffer, like this can't keep going on forever, what's going on? And then I noticed myself panicking a little bit. And I was like, oh, I have to find work now. I have to get on social media. I have to get on LinkedIn.
This is exactly acting on the outside in the 20% instead of changing on the inside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was trying to do all the things.
Change the circumstances.
But coming from a place of lack, of fear. And it didn't work for like a couple of weeks. Nothing happened. I put myself out there. Nothing happened. I didn't feel good about it at all because I was becoming more and more aware of what I wasn't having because I was trying to get it and it didn't feel great. And then I just felt like I don't want to live this way and I'm just going to let this go. And I really trust that it will come because it's always come back. There's always been enough work. And I really felt it in my whole body. And the next day I get a call from a client I haven't talked to for 2 years with the biggest job in a couple of years.
Beautiful, yeah.
Just seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah. But you felt it.
I really felt like it's going to be totally fine.
Beautiful. Because I'm actually in the exact same phase right now. Like I never had so little money in my life. I always had enough. And I think I panicked for like a few hours one day. But now I'm just in a deep trust. Everything will work out. And I get to search my beliefs of being in lack, of not having enough, of worrying. I get to search myself and see this as a mirror to see, what's happening here inside me.
Yeah.
But it's so beautiful, actually, that you just lived this not long ago and that I'm also going through this phase right now. So it's...
And I'm also doing it the other way. I'm also manifesting things I don't want but I'm aware of it now. So I'm like,
I've been what, really, for example?
For example, I've been really worrying about not having enough time. And then all I get to experience is not having enough time to do certain things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm actually doing this.
Yeah.
And I can just decide that I no longer want to be stressed and I don't know, and I have enough time. And then all of a sudden I have enough time, which means I might have less work. I might get invited to less things or something else will happen or whatever. But hey, and I might not like those things, but it is what I wanted. I wanted more time. So it's a constant thing. And that's one of these things that Joe Dispenza also talks about in his book is you have to be very, very specific.
About what you want.
Super specific. Because something like more time, okay, the universe will give you more time. But if you haven't said, I want more time to be able to be with my family and do the job I love and blah, 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 and everything else, then it's like, oh, you don't have that job anymore. Now you have more time, know? So like, that's, it's really...
Be careful what you wish for. Like.
Yeah, well, be precise about what you wish for.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about, which you mentioned before a little bit, like, I think you said multi-dimensional or something, and we talked about it before getting on the podcast. Like, it's a concept that's kind of hard to grasp for me, and I can also imagine for so many people it sounds so woo-woo because they haven't experienced it themselves. And I've been in small moments like that in like plant ceremonies, and where I really felt like, yeah, this is a world where I'm now in with my consciousness that feels as real, if not more real, than the one I'm in now. But it's not a world that I normally have access to, but it's there. Or maybe it's part of my mind. I mean, I don't have definite proof that it's actually a world outside of myself. But do you believe it's a, let's say, when we talk about different dimensions, it's also just a label, obviously. It's a different experience of life in a certain sense. Is this about feelings? Is this about a mental world? Is this a combination? How would you look at that?
And for me, multidimensionality feels like there are different layers of reality. So here we're living in a physical reality where matter is on, like, where there's a lot of matter, everything that you can touch is matter. And that's the third dimension, seeing things in 3D. But there are many layers to reality. So also when you talk about having two perspectives at the same time, one crying sitting on a horse and at the same time laughing like, oh, this is such a beautiful mirror and this is exactly how I feel on the inside, thank you. There are different layers of reality. And I think like multidimensionality are just different layers to reality. And when you become more conscious and aware, at some point in your process, you will open up to other layers of reality. So for example, to me, it feels like not just perceiving with my 5 senses, my 5 human senses, but I would say also with my 6th sense. But also like when you walk into a room and there just have been an argument and you feel the energy in the room, you can perceive something while you are not using your human 5 senses.
You can't smell it, you can't see it, you can't taste it.
You can't touch it.
You can't touch it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you still feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the more conscious we get, the more we perceive that our 5 senses cannot pick up on. And for me, that is multidimensional. Picking up stuff from the unseen, even if you can't explain why, for example.
It's more subtle, in a lot of senses.
I think it starts subtle, but the more aware you become, the more clear it gets. And what my experience was, the more quiet my mind gets, the more I can pick up out of the field of consciousness. So out of the different layers.
Yeah.
So when I do an energy healing, for example, when I have a client, I try to leave my mind at home. I first of all, I don't understand with my mind what I'm doing. So I also say that to my clients, I can't explain this, I don't understand it myself. But I feel it. So I really use my intuition and I feel things that my mind or my 5 senses cannot pick up on. So I try to like say to my mind, not now, you're not needed the next hour.
Yeah.
And I just really, I perceive with my body. So I'm really clear sentient. I feel in my body what another person is feeling and I feel their energy field in my body. But I also feel information. So, for example, I had once had a couples healing, and they came with their own like problems that they wanted to work on. But when I was like feeling the energy, I could pick up on, don't ask me like how, that they really had a big wish to have children. And that everything that they came to me for had to do with that dream. And so it's something I sense, but I can't really explain how I sense it.
That's, I believe, also where we're supposed to go as humans and as humanity, is to learn to let go of trying to explain everything.
And understand everything. Yes.
And just surrender to a bigger intelligence, and that actually some stuff just gets taken care of, or we can actually feel it, instead of trying to understand it, having to understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, and to me it felt like when I leave my mind at home, I get to do so much more for someone. I get to support them so much more than my mind could even think of. So my mind is so limiting. It's such a shame. And if I can just say, okay, I don't need my mind, it's fine. I just go with what I feel because that's how I perceive. And then other people might see more, are more clairvoyant. Everyone has their own ways of information incoming from other dimensions, I would say, from other layers of reality.
Yeah.
But when I leave my mind at home, the sessions are way more beautiful and a lot more things show themselves and open up, and then magic happens.
How do we leave our mind at home? Because it sounds really nice.
Good question.
We actually tell it, because I've been experimenting also in different, therapies and whatever kind of, so that there actually, you can talk to these parts of yourself, right?
Yeah.
You can talk to your inner child, you can talk to your mind, you can talk to your heart, whatever, and you can actually give those things certain energies or certain things that they might need. Are you doing it like that, or is there a different technique to it?
I do that. Like, I tell my mind, okay, it's okay, you're not needed right now. But I think for me, it was also a learning process because I love to analyze and I love being in the mind. And I'm also really a big thinker, also since I was a little child. Like, I was always thinking about big life questions. And but I think, for me, also what happened for me is that in my healings, a part of me opened up that I could not explain. And that's my light language. So at some point I heard like tones and sounds in my mind, and I don't know what they are. I don't know where they're coming from. And I think, am I going to speak it? Because someone is laying here on the table receiving a healing. But when I speak these sounds and I don't know, like I was afraid to do that because what would people think? And I don't even understand it myself. So what am I doing? Like, I don't get this with my mind. And I also couldn't feel it yet. And at some point I went to India. And in India, some beautiful magical things happened. And after India, I suddenly was able to speak and dare to speak the sounds and the tones that I heard in my head. And at first I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. And my hands were doing like this and this while I was speaking it. And I thought, I'm so happy the eyes of my client are closed. Because I don't understand what I'm doing. So for me, it was, I think, a big invitation to leave my mind out of it. And then I heard someone say, you can't understand this language with your mind, but you can only feel it from the heart. And then I thought, oh, that was a big piece of the puzzle for me. Oh, I can only feel it. Okay, so I can really leave my mind at home. And I can feel the energy coming through, the beautiful tones and the loving energy and the changes the energy makes in the energetic system, because I can feel it in my own body. So, for me, it was a process, and I was invited to really let go my brain and to let this come through.
And also the brain and the judgment and everything that's attached to that. It's funny, like when I some years ago I was in a plant ceremony and someone was also like speaking light language, I guess, and I noticed, like, first time I experienced that in the same room, I was like, oh, what's that person doing? Like, it's because I still don't have experience with that, but I've also learned to, again, not have to understand everything and just feel what it does in my body, and just feel if this is something that I want to open up to or not, and do I just feel if this has a positive effect or not. And I mean, I also don't understand love with my brain, but I feel it, and I know it's an amazing, it's what life is about. if you ask me. And maybe love is another, maybe the deepest dimension of all of them. The only thing that transcends time. So my brain doesn't understand love, but I know that that's one of the most important things in life. So it's okay to also not understand other things.
Yeah. And I think it's really funny because the clients that come into my healing practice never heard of light language, most of them. Like no one, I think, maybe one. And they don't know I'm doing it. I will tell them beforehand when they come in, like we talk a little bit and I tell what I'm going to do. But and when they experience it, a lot of people say it feels like coming home, or this language you spoke, felt so natural to me, or I had the feeling I understand it, but my mind doesn't get it at all. So it's so funny what people say that hear it for the first time. And no one says, wow, that was so weird. What the fuck was that? No one says that. And that surprises me because what is it, Like, now I know it's just light coming through. And it's like sound healing, you could say. Like tones and sounds with their own healing energy. But I love it that no one knows that I'm doing it until they come into my practice and they get to experience it. And it's beautiful. Yeah.
It makes me also think of, we kind of feel, we don't feel it in our mind, but we feel it in our body and perhaps even in our soul. Like it's the deepest part of us that gets to maybe understand it or accept it, and that, or there it's okay, there it feels like home, there it feels natural. Even if as soon as we identify only with the egoic mind or the lowercase s self, like just this me and this body, then it's like weird and it doesn't make sense. But if we just allow it to be and just feel what it does, then we actually feel, it has a very different effect on us.
And there's so much information in feeling, and we can perceive so much more by feeling it than understand with our minds. And maybe that's also what consciousness is, like the growing consciousness on this planet. At some point, we get to this stage, like, okay, my mind doesn't understand everything, and it's okay to let go of it. In Holland, we have the saying, first seeing, then believing. That's also a program.
I feel like it's the other way around.
Exactly.
If you believe it, you will see it.
Yeah. I love the saying, believe to achieve.
Oh, yeah.
Believe to achieve.
You talked before a little bit about, and it's the same for me, always been fascinated with the big questions in life. What's the biggest question of all, do you think?
The biggest question. I love all the questions. I love questioning things and being skeptical, I can't answer that question, I think. What do you think is the biggest question in life? What would that be for you?
Maybe who we actually are.
Yeah, who am I?
Who am I on the deepest level?
Yeah, who am I really, truly?
And I believe that we're spending all our lives to find the answer to that question.
Yeah.
And first we look outside of ourselves. We look for confirmation. We look for other people to tell us what we are.
Yeah.
And then most of us at some point will learn that we actually get to go inside, because it's ourselves that can tell us who we are. And it's only ourselves that can really tell us who we are and really know ourselves. It's about knowing yourself, and it's about going fully into yourself and realizing on all the different levels, maybe all the different dimensions, all the different senses, who you are. Because yes, you're this person and you're in this body, and there's there's talk about, you have the physical body, you have the astral body, the energetic body, there's a soul, but there's also, I feel, if I really focus on it, I feel like I'm part of something bigger. I feel like yes, I'm this and I'm all here, but I'm also connected to something else. I'm part of a certain energy that's in and within everything. So am I that too then, perhaps on a different layer? And there's possibly many more layers.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
people that
beautiful.
have been in meditation for a really long time. I just saw a video of some guys finding a yogi that had been meditating for decades, and he said, like, I just sat here and I just wanted to, I just at some point decided to do this until I would really find the truth. And the truth is that I am of God, I am God. And not yes, I am everything but I am part of everything. I am within all that. We are all that. And I haven't experienced that myself, but I've had whispers of it.
Do you mean like the God creator kind of? Like we create everything and I come from source. I am a part of where it all started, the divine.
In that sense, I would say it's interesting what it is. I haven't really decided what it is or figured it out or whatever. I'm not sure if I ever will.
Yeah.
But like, I really recently I saw a video of Robert Edward Grant, who went into who shared like God is, yes, it's everything, and it's absolutely everything, and it's in a sense it's only love. And where does the name God come from? It's generator, operator, destructor, God.
Oh, wow.
It's a generating force. It's the operating force. There's that the soul that flows through everything, that animates everything. The generating is the masculine, and the destruction is the feminine, the Kali, the female energy that destroys so new things can be created again.
Oh, beautiful. I never heard this.
And that really struck something inside of me of like, that comes really close to the truth.
Wow. Yeah. Beautiful.
So I don't think it's a one being. I would sort of describe it as an energy, that a loving energy that can express itself in infinite ways. And because it's infinite, that means that everything by definition is part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing is not part of God. Nothing is call it God, call it spirit, whatever you want, but like nothing is not part of that. So including all the darkness, all the heaviness, because if you say it's infinite, that means that by definition everything's included in it. That also means that all the darkness by definition is part of it.
Mm-hmm. We all come from the same source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all just reflections showing ourselves, parts of ourselves, where we get to transform, where we get to learn, where we get to love ourselves more.
Yeah. Beautiful. But I think you're right. That is the biggest question. Who am I truly? And I think that's where multidimensionality comes in. The more conscious you get, the more you perceive of your true self, your sovereign self, your creator self, your, yeah. And when we get to do that, we get to live in abundance and only in like loving acceptance, what we talked about earlier before this podcast. Like if you can always be in the loving acceptance and just create from a positive state of mind and just, then the world is amazing, right? And we get to see the creators that we truly are. And that is our true self, I guess. We are magical, powerful, sovereign beings. Yeah, I think we're going to create a beautiful future together. I truly believe that.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful way to end as well.
Yeah, I think so too.
Please, where can people find? I'll link everything in the show notes, obviously, like link to your social media and your work, your website. But if there's anything that you want to round off with, want to share, and also what's coming up for you, what you're offering, please do.
Well, I would actually love to share something else, to end with something else. Just know that everything you're looking for in life, everything is inside yourself. If you're looking for love, for validation, for approval, for money, everything, a relationship, everything that's outside of you, everything that you're looking for outside yourself is within you. All the questions that you have, all the answers are within you. Are you looking for safetyness outside yourself? The safetyness is within you. So just know that you possess everything that you need to live in this world, because you have everything inside yourself, literally everything. So when you look for support, if it's from an energy healer of someone else, always go to someone that lets you perceive that everything is inside yourself. So you're not dependent on anyone else. You don't need something from anyone else, but everyone that's helping you guides you towards your inner self. That's where your true self is, in abundance, in love, in safety.
Don't give your power away and exchange the government for a healer. Or someone else outside of you.
You are the power yourself. You are such a powerful being. And literally everything is inside of you. Never forget that.
Well, Anna, thank you so much. And everyone listening, watching, thank you so much again for tuning in to Spirit Unfolding. I'm looking very much forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching or listening to the Spirit Unfolding podcast. I'm so grateful that you've joined us in this episode, and I hope that you've gained valuable insights and inspiration that you can apply to your own life. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with your family, friends, and on social media. And subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts so we can reach more people and bring on bigger guests. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.